Welcome, it's SVPod. Stanford Steve joins us from Baton Rouge, where it's been a long day, I know. And you're running on fumes. It's been, I can't wait to hear all about BR and all the stuff we love down there. I hate to start on a bummer, but I just, it's a heavy heart for me today. For those that are watching, you see it's that's a hoodie, and you're like, what's that say on your chest? Well, it says R.J. Bentley's. And it's a little watering hole in College Park, Maryland. Every college town's got them. You've got your favorites. And one of the cool things about getting to do what I do is along the way, anytime Maryland did anything cool and I got to do a highlight, Steve, what would I say? Let's go where?
Let's go to Bentley's.
Yep. Let's go to Bentley's. And it's been fun to do that because it's where we go. It's a way to celebrate. But the fun thing behind that was the guy that owns Bentley's is a legend named John Brown. And just this week, Maryland played Manhattan. Steve Levy sends a tweet. He says, I think you know this place. It's Bentley's. And I said, what I always say in a tweet, put it on John Brown's tab. I got a text today, John Brown passed away. And John was not a young man. John had lived an awesome life. But certain people just feel like they're forever people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's such a fixture and such a part of what I identify with, not just his bar, but of College Park and in Maryland. This guy did so much good for the university and was beloved by so many people that it's like a hammer, man. And I don't know, it's just been a shitty day because John Brown is a dear friend that is beloved by so many people. And so, as I say, I don't want to start with this bummer, but I'm not going to start without a tip of the cap to my friend who has the greatest line. He's in the hospitality business. And whenever I'd reach out, John's answer was, the answer's yes, just tell me the question. Hey, John, they're playing Duke. It's going to be 1 billion people. You got room for me? So the answer's yes. Just tell me the question. They got a crab soup there. If I'm coming, he made sure my guy Pat had some crab soup
with the extra crab.
They took care of your boy because that's what John Brown did. That's what John Brown. God, it's so hard to say did. Anyway, love John, love Keen. All Maryland does. And so let's go to Bentley's forever. He'd be on me like, hey, let's get to the game, Scott. So that's what we'll do. You're in a place that's got more than a few Bentleys. BR's got, they've got hospitality locked down. But they got smoked tonight, man. But before you and I got started, it's interesting. There's a lot about it that's praised for Bama, but it was the kind of game that was still lingering in that voodoo zone where I felt like the magic at Tiger Stadium could still have an impact. But there's too many mistakes and then too much Milroe. What'd you see?
Mistakes. Can't do it. It did start out, the whole time I'm thinking about this game. Obviously, we do game day. It's electric. The play, every time I turned around, rows got deeper and deeper and deeper into the quad, and it was an incredible show. I do want to talk about it later and the emotions that went in. It feels like a weekly thing, but today was nuts, man. It felt like we had 10 things in the show that were heavy hitters in different ways. But as far as the game, I didn't get asked to make a pick on, we were tight for time and everything that happened. But my main point was whoever started fast was going to be in such a benefit because the way this was built up and the idea of what was at stake, we hadn't had it. It was always the biggest game. They were always in the top 5. But to add on what was your hopes of a deep postseason run hinged on tonight.
Eliminator game.
And to see Alabama come out, and on that first drive, you're just looking third down again. And then as they're doing it, they're wide runs, no Milrow runs. And then sure enough, they spread them out, and there goes 4 right down the middle. LSU, of course, returns the kickoff back to the 50, breaks a run. It's insanity. They get right back in it, and they get down there. I think first and goal from the 4. I'm right there on the 4-yard line. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know what they're going to call here, because this is not an ideal spot for them and what they like to do. They're pressed against the back of the end zone at field goal. All right, now it's 14-3, 14-6. And then they get the 4th down, and then they can't Nussmeier fumbles. Yep. And that one was a dagger because you had a chance to get point, even if it was another field goal.
How hard was it raining at that point?
It was considerate.
It seemed
sideways.
It seemed like it. I mean, and you know, it's one of those deals where sometimes you're in an atmosphere where you look up and it's like, oh, this looks really bad. I'm sure when the cameras pan up at the lights at night and it looks like it's pouring, but maybe sometimes it's not. I couldn't tell how heavy it was. I felt the same way about the Ole Miss Georgia game, but at that point, my guess was it must have been raining pretty heavy.
Well, I thought, yeah, because before the 4th down stop on 3rd down, Alabama tries to go fast, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's the same ball. And it's and right there, I'm like, it's wet. And Brailsford, who's an All-American center, came from Washington, played a national title game last year. He rolls it back to Milrow. And normally, I think if that happens, the defense is coming so fast, but they slip too because they're like, oh shit, there's a ball on the ground, and Alabama gets like maybe a half yard,
right? And
it's 4th and 1, and in a circumstance where DeBoer wants to go fast, it kind of backfires there. It gets stopped at 4th down. Boom, next play, Nussmeier fumbles. But the drive to start the second half, Mason Taylor makes a couple great catches. It's ready to pop. And again, 1st and goal on the 4. And I turned to Todd Gray. I went up to the suite to try and the guys were asking me to come up, switch to Mojo. We go up to the suite, and I'm like, I think this is the worst place on the field for LSU to be. And boom, interception. And I felt like the biggest asshole in the room. But those guys, they're diehards. They're invested. And Alabama's in their head. Like they had this sense it was going to, as soon as Alabama goes up 14-3, you could just see those guys. And then I start thinking to myself, Scott, I think this is close to 10 games I've seen there. I don't think I've ever seen LSU go up 7-0 in that building. It's crazy to me. And so you're constantly battling back. But Alabama, all the credit to them, man. They came out with a plan, and they were awesome.
There's always a million little layers. And there's moments where, and you just laid out a number of them, where the voodoo of that place it can happen, and it's magic when it does happen with Ole Miss this year, where Ole Miss at the end of it's looking around going, how the did we lose that game? Yep. Right? And there were moments where it felt like
it was right there.
Exactly. But the thing about that team from Tuscaloosa, and you and I saw it years and years ago when Nick let him in there, is that place doesn't scare him. No. In the immortal words of the late, great Bernie Mac, you don't understand. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. And I don't think they are. And it
never
takes,
have.
But it
never
takes,
have.
You could say it, but they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've always felt about Alabama, is that they don't blink, and it helps when you can lean on strength. And tonight they ran for 311 yards.
Yeah.
And a running quarterback is sort of a kryptonite for that LSU team, it seems. They were bad on defense last year. They're better this year. But Milroe, time and time again, was a question that LSU didn't appear to have an answer for. That, with the monumental mistakes at the worst possible time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, in the end, it totally gets away from LSU. And I've used the word throughout the year about losses. That's not a disqualifying loss. This was. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's no workaround for that, because there's too many people. You're in a conference with there's 40 people in your league. And I started looking at SEC tiebreakers earlier tonight. I'm not going to get into that right now, but there's paths for a bunch of people, but it involves a lot of different. You need dominoes to fall. Today was a good day for Ole Miss because they got the loss they needed from Georgia, obviously because they inflicted it. They needed an LSU loss as well. It's a good day for Texas because they got a Georgia loss and an LSU loss. But I don't know. The game itself, I don't want to get too far away from what Bama did, because this is the kind of night that I think for DeBoer, and there's that great stat Reese had that's wild about first-year coaches at Bama going into LSU. They've had success for whatever reason. For people that were pissed off about wearing T-shirts and losing games and blah, 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 this is a good one to settle the nerves, I would think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't want to make it sound too simple, Scott, but they just needed a win on the road. And this was the place they needed to come to. You think of the success that all this has had, and to hear Nick talk about every single time he came here as the opposing coach. But then yesterday he lets us in and talks about how special and awesome this place was for him and Miss Terry. It was I was like, I don't know what to do, but that's why he's the best ever. He parlayed everything into always succeeding.
Have you
asked, it was like he looked at me today in a commercial break where that place is going nuts during game day, and he looked at me, he's like, "You been here a lot?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, when it's good, it's the best ever. I still love this place." And they love him too.
Do you think he regrets? I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, but I really want to know the answer to this question. Do you think he regrets leaving there? And this is, let me frame it so Bama fans don't sit up in their chair and get irate. What he did in Tuscaloosa is legendary. Legendary. He's better coach historically than Paul Bear Bryant. And I mean no disrespect to him. Tuscaloosa, Saban, legendary. But if he stayed in Baton Rouge, boy, that would have been a long list of stuff. Do you think that there's some regret about leaving?
No, because of how he was able to succeed at Alabama.
Totally get it.
But what Reese points out, in being an Alabama guy that Reese is, and knowing the history with the rivalry, the conference, the whole thing, is that he will forever be the man here in Baton Rouge because he fixed it. And it was a disaster. Go through the names and the years and the amount of head coaches this place we love had. And I go back to when I was growing up. They never won anything. But they had NFL player after NFL player. And you're like, oh, where'd that guy go? Oh, yeah, he went to LSU. He went to LSU. But to hear Nick talk about when he got here, how he got here, he was locked in his house in Michigan State. He couldn't leave. They had up a bar. He sent Miss Terry down here.
That's a great story. I don't think that's for the air, but
check it out. No, but he sent it out like, you got to go check. I'm interested in this place. and he sends a checklist with her, and they don't have anything. But she sort of gets the hint to him that they got a lot of NFL bodies in the weight room. And he finally gets out, and it happens. And then to see how fast he did it, because he's the first to admit it, how much he learned as being a head coach at Michigan State and how he built that. But then how fast he did at LSU because of the players here.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talk about it all the time with Ryan and with Marcus. There's such a long list of dudes. It's just outrageous. And you talk about if you could just keep the guys home, you could never keep everyone home because that's just not how it works. Some dudes, because there's too many alphas that have to go other places, and you wouldn't get everyone if, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have that many people.
I went to LSU practice Thursday, and I have to tell you this stat. I've been dying to tell you this. Jack Marucci, who's our guy, bats on the desk, LSU invested, former trainer, was trainer for Nick for 5 years, I think he told me. To tell you how many players there are in this state and what Louisiana means to LSU and what LSU means to Louisiana and the fans. Scott, they did the numbers. Since 2000, if you are a wide receiver that goes to high school in the state of Louisiana and you go to LSU, you have a 52.4% chance to go to the NFL. Think about that. That's insane. I didn't know. I like walked away from him when he told me that at practice Thursday. Like the average, I think, for any player in college football is like, I don't know, 1%, half of 1%. High school, wide receiver, go to LSU, 52%.
Stop right there.
That's insane.
Think about Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. played on the same team. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, last seen hanging 55.4 fantasy points on my dome, played on the same team. Neighbors and Thomas, rookies this year, played on the same team. They don't have one of them. They got two of them at a time. It's a joke.
And the best thing was how we got to this is I told Marucci, I said, Nick, and we were over in Dublin. I think Desmond or somebody was like, yeah, we were previewing the season. It's like LSU, I don't know how they're going to replace Thomas and Neighbors. And Nick looked at him. He's like, are you kidding? He's like, wide receivers in Louisiana fall out of trees.
Yeah. Or they grow out of the ground, or they're in the wherever, man. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
That's a fact, and I'm still blown away. And sorry to get sidetracked.
No, I mean it's
incredible.
But this wasn't about catching passes. This was about running it on the ground. Milroe, Bama, 311.
They're in.
In it.
Mm-hmm.
They're in it. LSU's done. I want to get to the hospitality portion, some BR stuff late.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to move on before we just talk. I was texting all week with Herbie.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the pod this summer with Jon Stewart about Dipper, his dog, and about Otis, my dog, and how the one thing that unites us is dogs, and there's nothing quite like it. He had that great line, Jon Stewart, this summer. I hate you and everything you stand for, but I'm real sorry about your dog. And I try my best just to keep Herbie positive. It's just brutal. It's so sad. And the difference with Ben that was so beautifully captured in the piece that you guys did with Gameday was that he became like America's best friend, and he became the official dog of college football. And you remember when I did that piece for Otis, I'm in the studio by myself. And I told Herbie this. I'm like, I literally prayed to God to just let me get through this because I had no chance. But somehow you get the words out. And Herbie today just told me, buddy, I couldn't make a word come out of my mouth. And I'm like, there's 40,000 people chanting, "We love Ben." No way. You can't get a word out. And I think that the uniting factor of people's love of dogs, this particular dog, and college football fans, the best of them. I saw the LSU folks who we adore. They've got the billboard with Ben. I mean, it was just, and it's that show too, man. Your show, and I don't mean no disrespect to other shows that do college. That show's college football. Period. End of story. That show. And the people on that show. And the dog on that show. I wondered, what was it like there? And I can't imagine the emotion of that.
Yeah. There's a lot. We were going to do a tribute, obviously. How we were going to do it, that was at Kirk's disposal. Reese and I drove home yesterday and threw out some things about how we were going to help. It was going to get done, and this was going to happen. And we were going to get our guy through it more than anything. And he walked in this morning, and him and Reese went right to talking. Let it go. Reese is the host. Kirk is the face of the show. He's the face of the sport. He's everything. He's college game day, and we were going to get it through. And Pat grabs them, and they do their talking. And it's just like I'm the new guy. I am not getting in the middle of this, but I'm going to get my guy through it. And the dynamic you don't see all the time on the show is Kirk, where he is on the desk. He's always looking directly at me, always, and we have a little talk back button. So we're always going back and forth in the show, and we've had a long relationship. He's just incredible. But what people didn't see, which really, really hit, which was a monster moment for everybody on the show, was he goes out and does a SportsCenter hit probably 30 minutes before game day. And when he gets up on the stairs, there's a roar from the fans that's like, I can't even tell. Like, it lifted, and like the stage, how big that stage is. Like, it's out there, and he goes right to the front, and he's giving a fist pump, like, thank you, and it's hitting him, and it was awesome. And they started a bit, we love Ben Chance, but now he's got a 1-year-old Pete that's just a monster. So I get back on the desk. Where's Pete go? Pete comes over to me. Kirk's just looking. He's like, hey, you got a new friend. So I got Pete like half the show coming over to me. I'm petting him. Then he realizes his water wasn't over there. So, like, it was just this whole thing. And we knew when we were going to do the tribute, and Kirk wanted to do it. And, again, the guy, Reese Davis, he gave him a heads up. We were going to do it. Hey, at the end of the segment, in the commercial break, we're talking. And Reese was so ready because he wanted to carry his guy. Pat was so ready because he wanted to carry his guy. Nick was ready. And, it happens. And I'm shaking my head and looking at Kirk when he's trying. He's trying. Yeah. He wanted to do it, and it didn't happen. And Reese got it done. Yeah. And we got there.
And there was a beautiful thing, too, not to be lost. The relationship between Coach and Kirk is father-son. And I think we've all seen the way that that Herbie's helped his guy. And it was really a beautiful thing. I'm literally sitting here, a tear coming out my face right now. Just to see Lee
in there.
just to see Lee put his hand.
Hand on the Herbie. Shoulder.
And it's like, to me, that's that show. And that's the love that you're lucky to be a part of. That Kirk and Coach share. And it was just wonderful, man. It was really, really wonderful. And just to pivot and change the temperature of the room, awesome a pad at 9 o'clock to start the neck song. I just want to stop feeling this sadness. He just dropped neck right on the people just to let everybody know how this day is going to go. So anyway,
oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, man, it really was. And the support in the sport and the dogs, man, nothing like it. Nothing like it. And
No.
your show, nothing like it. Baton Rouge, nothing like it. But tonight, Alabama, nothing like it. And we got a lot to get to from the rest of the sport. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
I feel like you got to start with Miami's loss because they not because it was noon, but because they messed around with it for weeks and months. And Georgia Tech was up for the challenge, and they were better mostly. And I thought Cam was going to do it again. When he hits Restrepo, there's like 6 minutes left, and you're like, here we go. They're going to do it again. I'll be damned. And they didn't. But the good news for them is they still own a tiebreaker over Clemson for the right to face, if things hold naturally, ACC traditional power SMU for the championship. But they do own the tiebreaker over Clemson, so the loss isn't disqualifying. But it just felt like it was inevitable, even though we kept saying, like, their schedule doesn't really, really aggressively challenge them, but they just kept messing around, Steve, to the point that somebody's going to get you, and today they got.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting going in this week into that game. That number got posted, last Sunday at 11, and I'm like, huh. And everybody's, takes the take that candy.
I did.
Takes the mindset of Miami's really pissed off from last year and how they blew that game, and they're gonna give it to Georgia Tech. And I don't know if I'm the outlier, but I totally looked at it a different thing, because I'm thinking the whole week, if they get Haynes King back, that's a team that knows they beat that team last year, and now they get them at home. They're not afraid of that. They're able to watch Miami. There's a lot of the same guys on there, but my inkling was, you got to have Haynes King. I think that kid's that valuable to that team. They respond to him. They, you know what he is in the run game, and with the run game, you got to be able to keep Cam Ward off the field. And I think Georgia, watching them in Ireland week 0, they're a dangerous team. I love their offensive game plan, how they motion and shift and do all those things, and involve him in the quarterback run game. And I thought it was going to be a problem, but I didn't. Good for you. You did it. I didn't, because I wanted to know if Haynes King was going to do it. And I give a lot of credit to Georgia Tech, because you know what's coming in this, I don't want to say false sense, but what people love to talk about, and how Miami's pissed off because they lost to them last year in an embarrassing fashion, and now they're going for the playoff and an undefeated season. I look at the other team. I look at Georgia Tech, and I was like, that's a capable team that has confidence, because they know they beat them. Yeah, they were fortunate last year, but now you get to prove it again. And they did it, and that's an awesome job to those players. But most importantly, that coaching staff. They're 5-4 now. They're 6-4, something like that. I mean, they blew a couple games, but they got talent, and good for Georgia Tech. That's an awesome win, and that's a highlight. You start your season highlight film, probably start it with a win over Florida State, but that one against an undefeated Miami team, you remember that one forever.
Yeah, as you were doing this, I got the ACC network on. It's just underneath looking at you, and I just saw that play over and over again. Credit to Georgia Tech. Like, after they gave up that score, they had a short third down. And it's like, okay, put this to bed. They didn't. And I did not believe, Steve, that they'd be able to withstand it, because Cam Ward's that guy that, since we started doing this, we've been raving about, because he's that dude. And that play is extended, and I'm thinking someone's going to be 30 yards wide open. Well, he never got a chance to throw the ball because he got strip sacked, and Georgia Tech hits a win that they deserve to win. They deserve to win that football game. Another loss in the top 5 as Georgia goes to Oxford, and you can look at it as a loss. You can look at it as a win. I'm going to look at it as a win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see it through the lens of Ole Miss, because a loss for Georgia isn't disqualifying. It just eliminates all their wiggle room. A loss for Ole Miss would have been the end of their chances. They fall behind, Steve, 7-0. Darts in the tent.
Mm-hmm.
And I write down, here we go again. And then a funny thing happened on the way to that. The Ole Miss defense bows up. They go on drive after drive. They weren't scoring touchdowns, and my fear for them, fear is not the right word. I just thought, if you're going to leave the door open, well, Georgia's going to get the ball, start the second half, and they're going to go on a drive, and then we're going to repeat. Didn't happen. Ole Miss controls that game. Their defense, the elements weren't great, but Georgia couldn't do much of anything. I saw a number of Georgia folks muttering about the O-line, and we talk about how many skill guys they put out. They've had a ton of talent on both lines, and this O-line's not a strength. It's been banged up. Kirby, in advance of the Texas game earlier this year, just told me that's the concern, is the offensive line. They really couldn't do anything. Ole Miss was just better, and that's as big a win as Lane has had there or anywhere else
ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He beat Oregon with Matt Barkley, I think, as a sophomore. The year before, they were preseason number 1.
Bigger than that.
Yeah, monstrous. And I look at myself for this because I watch it, and I've loved what Lane did this year. I picked him to make the playoff. I picked Jackson Dart to win the Heisman. Like, I was in on Ole Miss, and then the loss to Kentucky, and then going to your House of Horrors here in Baton Rouge and losing. And I'm like, I don't know how this team's going to respond. And then you start looking at the numbers, and it's 1-24 against top 2 teams all time. And I start thinking, I'm like, they probably were an underdog in every single one of those games, but people love to throw stats. And, he was getting compared this week to James Franklin, who hasn't been able to do that. And I couldn't get out of my head of Georgia, that game at Texas, where they just got Texas right where they want them. They brought physicality. They tackled in space. When Texas tried to throw the ball deep, they sacked, got forced fumbles. Like, they brought the fight to them. And it's awesome for Ole Miss, because that fan base and knowing what they did, they went all in this year, knowing 12-team playoff. We got to get in now. The money that they spent. And it's just it's really, like you said, it's a loss or a win. This is a win for Ole Miss, man. Like, your back's already against the wall. And the way they did it, and I also give Lane credit, because I don't know, in years past, he would always kick those field goals. And for you and I that are fans of 3 and 3 and 3 adding up, when your defense is playing well and you got that talent and you're at home and you have a couple maniacs in the stadium that we know,
yeah, things
happen. And awesome for Ole Miss.
You keep putting quarters in your piggy bank, and they eventually add up to dollars. I mean, I think it was also a combination of just that, recognizing that they didn't need to be wildly aggressive because their defense was doing such a great job in this football game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, the Beck situation continues to be, I don't know what the numbers are that guy's getting, but I don't know. I don't want to put this all on him, but then they're now out of room.
Mm-hmm. And
no
look
more.
What they have next week.
Where they go?
They host Tennessee.
Well, that's a giant question mark right now. Nico got hurt tonight.
Sounds like it's going to be good. He's going to be all right, I should say.
Sources.
Okay.
That was the kind of game all due respect, no offense. That's when I'm about to say something. Look, Mississippi State's not good. And I believe Tennessee thought we can probably win this game without putting him at risk. We do have Georgia next week. And they cruised to a win. But I think all Vol fans were holding their collective breath with just the way he lands. It looks like it could have been a collarbone, but Stanford Steve says, don't worry. Okay.
What I've heard.
We won't worry. We begin the bouncing around portion of the day. Did you see any of Indiana, Michigan?
I just saw the highlights, and I never realized Michigan had a two. Did he drop that? The 2-point conversion? Was it right in his hands, or was that me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Indiana was up early.
I feel like this is the kind of game that benefits them because there had to be a decent amount of people in that stadium that they got to be looking around at each other like, we're a 2-touchdown favorite over Michigan. This turned on a dime. They won the title last year, and we fired our coach, and we're laying 2 touchdowns. We really haven't trailed. We game control. We've dominated all season long. Being in a game like this probably benefits you because Michigan played well on defense. There were a couple of times that they were pretty conservative on offense, and people were MFing them they went for field goals, and then a funny thing happened. Their defense kept them in games, and then the next thing you know, they got a chance because they got some points. They weren't chasing 7s all the time. They were stacking a few 3s here and there, got to 17-9. Then, anyway, I feel like it's the kind of game that's, you win it. You finally don't cover. I was going to give out Michigan, and after last week, I'm just like, forget that.
Me too.
I'm just not doing it. I'm pretty stubborn, but I'm not stupid. Well, you know what? It was stupid. But the overriding thing I'd say is you won. You weren't your best, but Michigan was game in this. So that was my takeaway from this game. Also, as I was watching Ohio State, the old Oaken bucket, that's Indiana and Purdue, right? Mm-hmm. Or is that the big wheel of cheese? No, that's the old Oaken bucket. Is that the fat pig on a stick? I'm kidding. People get mad when you make fun of their important rivalries. I'm going to go ahead and say Indiana's going to get that. My point is the college team from West Lafayette, boil her up. It's hoop season, y'all. They didn't have much of a chance against Ohio State. Ohio State's defense the last couple of weeks has looked hellacious to me. I believe Purdue had like 200 yards of offense. Had no chance. I think what I'm saying is that Ohio State game, it's going to be so far and away the most difficult game that they have played that year. And for Ohio State, it will not be. We've talked about this a lot this year, right? Teams who've been in the deep end of the pool. And that's zero. Let me do this. Zero disrespect to Indiana. What it is saying is Ohio State played at Oregon and at Penn State. So you're good. We know you're good. We've said you're good. But those two teams that they played on the road are tougher tests than playing you in their stadium. That's all I'm saying. And a day like today with seeing Ohio State on defense makes me wonder, all right, what's Indiana going to do in that game? Not saying they can't. I'm saying it makes me ask myself, what will they do? As I watch Michigan mostly bottle them up fairly well today, especially in the second half, because Indiana had a double-digit lead and then kind of clamped on them in the second half. I just didn't know how much of that you saw.
Not much. I thought about this game a ton Reese and I talked about it a lot. He brought up the point of, for Indiana, this was a helmet game, and they have done what they needed to do to this point, but it was Michigan. It's Michigan.
That's my point. Right. Not Michigan State. Not Michigan State. All due respect, Michigan.
And first time in the history of the ESPN database, Indiana was favored against Michigan. Then you mention it, 14.5.
Not just
against
favored.
Michigan.
Two touchdowns.
But to Reese's point, he's talking about the transfers. James Madison. These guys come from here. They never played against Michigan. But on top of that, you know what you've done to this point. You have confidence in yourself. You're at home. You're a big favorite. You got to win this game, and you get a bye, and then you have your Super Bowl.
Yep.
And to Indiana's point, whatever it took, just win the game and get to that bye week. They've needed it. There's been a lot on their plate. It keeps getting added every single week, and they were able to answer the bell and get a win. Was it pretty? Hell no. But they're here, and now they get a chance to show what they got against the biggest brand in the conference, and I can't wait to see it. Because now you get to reassess things. You get to do some self-scouting in a bye week, and you didn't look great in your last start against the team you're going to play, their rival. So totally get where the naysayers are going to come in on Indiana, but
I'm not naysaying. I'm just telling you.
I didn't say you were. I'm just talking about now we got 2 weeks for people to talk about them as they go into Ohio State. That's all. But they're here, and no matter what it was, no matter what it was going to look like, they got the goal, and they still have a 0.
But all the things that Reese and you and I are talking about are real. That this is playing. They haven't played anybody. They haven't played anybody yet, and now you're on the field with Michigan. And this is not vintage Michigan by a long shot. They're not that. They're not. They're okay. That's it. But it's still Michigan. And you've never been favored. Now you're 2 touchdowns. Like, that's a whole lot of change to happen immediately and a whole lot to process. But now you can put on that much more comfortable, no one believes, and we got to walk into the Coliseum, and we're the Christians and they're the Lions. And all right, we'll put 60 on the clock and let's see. Signetti will do all the stuff. They'll be ready. They'll be ready. I'm I'm a big, big, big believer of this is the toughest team you've played. You're not the toughest team they've played. That's can be tricky. So we'll see.
Who's a better football team, Indiana or Penn State?
Right now?
Yep.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't mind telling you. I don't know. I think Penn State's way better on defense.
Okay.
That's what I think. I guess we'll see.
Not really.
Well, Ohio State played Penn State, and now Ohio State's going to play Indiana. So I guess we'll see between the two who does better against Ohio State.
That's how you judge who's better?
It's the only way we can at the moment. We could use the UCLA game with I talked about that with you the other day. We could use UCLA's result against Penn State and against Indiana. Indiana was much better against UCLA. That's the only common opponent I found, right? Well, we're going to have another one in a couple weeks. Look, the committee already told us what they think. Indiana hasn't lost a game, and they put Penn State ahead of them, which I thought was bullshit. But that's what they did. That's what they did.
We agree.
Penn State, by the way, I took Washington in winners. I thought maybe a hangover. I was stupid the more I thought about it. White out, that wasn't the issue. It's coming east, and
again,
it was dumb.
Hey, you know what, though? White out won again.
That's why they get mad about those noon kicks. They'd much rather do it at night. But that impressed me. That result impressed me. That defense is rugged. I got a result that I don't think is worth talking about. I do just want to point out Texas beat the crap out of Florida, and Ewers had 5 touchdowns, and Florida's on their 3rd-string quarterback. You and I believe that they should keep Napier. They're gonna. Florida fans are mad.
You knew that was going to happen. That news is going to come out.
It was really smart. They had to announce it off the close game against Georgia, and before this, it all goes. The wheels fall off in this stretch coming up because they're going to lose a bunch of games.
Do you think it would be soft if I put a first half line up on the board for game day?
No, I mean, people can bet on it.
Yeah. I wanted to put Texas first half. I was looking at it, I'm like, you can't put a first half line up there.
That'd be like putting up a prop, you know?
I know, and that's why I didn't do it. But Sark off a bye and Ewers another week to get healthy, and then Florida with a quarterback that was playing against Harvard and Dartmouth, and now he's got to go to Austin. That. I mean, I bet it, but that was you knew it. And then the news about Napier, I knew it was going to happen.
It did.
Yeah.
This sounds like loser talk. Maybe.
No offense.
Look, I just don't want this to come off the wrong way.
Okay.
Maryland actually did all right at Oregon. They really did.
Good for you.
They lost by 21 points, and you look at it and you're like, well, they covered. That's not the point. Although winners, thank you. But if you saw the game, it was Maryland's up 3-0. They punt, and Oregon fumbles inside their own 10-yard line, and Maryland's guy couldn't quite get it. And if you're going to pull off a shocker, you need those things to happen. And unfortunately for the Maryland fan, they couldn't hop on there inside the 10-yard line, chance to jump them and go up 10. Oregon scores 7-3, but then Maryland's driving. They're on the other side of the 50, and it's Birch, right? Number one, that South Carolina monster that transferred there. Gets to Edwards, Jordan Birch, right?
Yeah, I was trying to think South Carolina. Or
didn't he transfer from South Carolina? Am I inventing that?
No, that sounds right. I know it was SEC school. I wasn't sure, but yeah.
He gets to Maryland's quarterback, Billy Edwards, right as he's throwing. And Oregon's smart because it comes out like it's a pass, but Oregon picks it up and goes like 70, and it's a touchdown. So now you're driving with a chance to answer. Instead, it goes the other way. It's 14-3, and now you're the 20-something point underdog. You're out of it. Then they go down and score right before halftime. It's 14-10. Then Oregon scores right before the half.
Ugh.
Again, loser talk. I swore their tight end stepped out of bounds. They're looking at it. Guy's foot's on the line. That stands. It's a touchdown. It's 21-10. Then you get a stop. You're like, oh, we're going to get it back. We're down 2 scores. Then they run a fake punt to Birch. And he goes rumbling. Then they're throwing touchdowns to tight end, to tackle eligibles and running 2-point conversions. Now you're down 1 million, and you're looking around going, look at the stats, like yards and time of possession and first downs. I mean, it was Oregon's clearly way better. Obviously, everyone gets it. But watching the game after they got stomped by Minnesota on the road, I was pleased by the fact that they competed. Their defense played well enough. They just turned it over 3 times. And then after they had one pick 6 or scoop and score, and then there's another turnover right at their own 5-yard line. And then that only led to 3 because, again, their defense did a really nice job. And then at the end, you're like, oh, they lost by 21 points. You got to be, if you're the team trying to pull off the upset, you got to have those things that went the other way go your way. And you got to be the one that falls on the fumble early to try to, put some cash in the bank that you're going to draw down against. And that didn't happen. In the end, I don't know. It was just a cool thing watching the team I've rooted for my whole life go to a place I've watched on TV my whole life. And at the end of that first quarter, I'm watching, then they're singing the coming home bit. And I was trying to explain to my kids, I showed them the video that you had sent me, and they were not interested at all in that. Music video on the phone. They're singing a song. Cool story, Dad.
Yeah, right.
But no, we
want to watch the game.
Yeah, zero interest in that. They were so pissed they had to go to bed. But anyway, so that was that. That's the number 1 team. I watched it obviously with a keener eye than I would have otherwise, just because my team's never played there. Now they have. The other game that involves sort of dovetails to Oregon is Boise. They kind of survived Nevada at home. Nevada had a pick that I swear was a pick that was going to prevent Boise from scoring, and they said it wasn't. And I thought it was a terrible call. And then Boise scores right on the back end of that to go up 2 scores. And Nevada also fumbled on like the 1. So it was one of those deals where in the end, they only win by 7, but you're the group of 5, whatever. Just don't lose because you can't. And they didn't. Genty had another 203 more touchdowns. So salute to him. I don't know is he going to win the Heisman? Or is your guy going to win the Heisman?
I don't know.
Speaking of your guy.
Who's my guy?
The guy, well, you bet on everyone apparently to win the Heisman. You got Shedeur, right?
Yeah, I do have Shedeur.
Hand up, own it, wear it, eat it, Van Pelt. When Colorado got beat by Nebraska early, I thought Colorado was not good. And I was wrong by a lot. They are in control now to go to the Big 12 championship game. And they, on this particular Saturday, were down 2 scores in Lubbock. And they come roaring back, tortillas all over the field, 3 turnovers for Texas Tech, some calls that had people very upset on the Red Raiders side. But Shedeur led 3 consecutive touchdown drives to start the second half. 1 run, 2 passing. I saw Hunter's numbers on offense. He had like 9 for 90-something and a touchdown. He also had a pick on defense, but it got wiped off by a penalty. Anyway, long story short, anybody that was poo-pooing the Buffs, and I did early, you were wrong, I was wrong. Colorado has a chance to crash the playoff, which would be a blast because of Shedeur, and then, we're not hard to find, Coach Prime, and all the rest. So salute, man. Skull Buffs. I was wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because I knew they were going to be favored in the rest of the games they played, which is why I bet Shedeur and them to make the playoff, knowing that they would have to win the conference. And then they benefited so much last week without playing, and Kansas State losing and Iowa State losing. And now you get a chance to go on the road off a bye week against Texas Tech, who had their biggest win of the season at undefeated Iowa State. So, like, you had this whole thing snowballing, and it's a total credit to Coach Dion. Pat Shurmur's the offensive coordinator now. He gave him the reins before the season. I actually think he gave him the reins at the end of last year when they were trying to fix things and lost 6 straight. Pat Shurmur's the guy I played for at Stanford. Absolutely love him. Just an absolute football guy that's a great personality and brings everybody together. Just a leader, a coach, and a great mind. And this Colorado thing, it's like now you look at these teams, it's like I don't have a problem saying that they're the best team in that conference.
Well, I looked at their schedule. I was trying to figure out, and I mean, again, we make the point always, anyone could lose to anybody. Mm-hmm. But looking at Colorado, their last 3 are Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. I'll tell you, Kansas today looked like the Kansas I thought they would be all year. They boat raced Iowa State. They had 500 and something of offense. Daniels seemed to have people 20 yards clear over and over and over again. I said, and I picked him in winners because I said, I don't know, best 2-6 team is like saying like the best haircut on a bald guy. I don't think it's really something that you want. Hey, you know what, Kansas? The best 2-6 team in America. Super duper. What do I get? A poop on a plate? But they played like the Kansas team that started the season.
They've
ranked.
been in every game. Every game this year.
Correct. That's those that know, Jayhawk fans are just nodding like, yeah, we've lost some disgusting games.
Mm.
Well, they were, from the jump, the better team in this game, and that's 2 losses in a row for Iowa State. That Kansas game, I believe, is in Boulder. I believe that game's in Boulder. So I'm not handing.
Yes, it is.
I'm not going to hand that dub to Colorado because their defense tends to allow people to score a bit, and Kansas's offense today certainly looked like they can. But again, the larger point here is they were down on the road in Lubbock where it gets weird early and didn't blink. And so now they are in control. They don't need any help. If they handle theirs, Skull Buff's playoff team.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's pretty
That's
crazy.
Nuts. Yeah, it is, because after that Nebraska loss, it was like, they stink, and all the haters. And I will use that term with him because I've said not everybody that's critical is being a hater, but people line up just to hate on Sanders and that team. So I wasn't.
Watch them.
No, exactly. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. I was wrong as it relates to Colorado. Go ahead.
Kansas, like best. What are they now? Best 3-6 team.
Correct. Got to win out.
They got to go to Provo, and then they get Colorado at either Arrowhead or the soccer stadium or the Raceway, wherever they play. I forget.
The Raceway.
They should play at Fog Allen.
You see that game against North Carolina at all yesterday? That was a good one.
I did.
Really good one. It's hoop season. Bad beats. There's already some excruciating bad beats in college basketball. Who else do I have written down for you from today? Florida State stinks. 52-3.
Oh, that's what it ended?
52-3.
Wow.
It's almost like your bowl game from last year. Well, no one was playing in that. We didn't care.
Easy.
They talked so much shit to start this year and hated everybody, and it was all our fault. You're 1-9, and you got beat 52-3. How much dough did you spend on this? My God. This is where it gets crazy. This is where the whole NIL thing is fascinating to me, because it's easy to talk about the best NIL situation, Ohio State and $20 million and whatever else. What did Florida State spend? I don't know. I'm asking. But whatever they spent, they're 1-9. And so in this offseason, you're going to go to those same people and go, hey, we good for our $1 million? I can't help you, man.
Yeah, right?
Ask somebody else.
Mm.
Tricky. We need to talk about the drunkest game of the day, maybe of the year. You had it.
Oh.
This will certainly be on Bad Beats. If you had the under in Oklahoma, Missouri, I'm sorry. If you had, either way on the money line here, and I know Steve had Oklahoma, let me give everybody a quick recounting. The game is 6-3 at halftime. Was it Drew Pine is the guy that's the backup for Missouri?
Yep.
And he's playing. Let's get to this. It's 6-3 at the half.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10-9 midway through the fourth. Missouri scores a touchdown to go up 16-9. Oklahoma ties it with 3:18 to go at 16-16. 3:18 to go, fourth quarter. Heavens to Betsy, there's a scoop and score. Pine gets hit, scoop. No, it was a running back. Ball's out, Oklahoma scoop and score, 23-16. They lead, 2 minutes to go in the game. Drew Pine throws a 3rd and 16 miracle to my guy Burden, who's as good a wide receiver as we've got in the college game this year.
Mm-hmm.
Luther Burden. 3rd and 16 miracle. They score a touchdown, evening things up at 23 with 1 minute and 3 seconds to go. Then Jackson Arnold is sacked. The ball is out. Scoop and score, Missouri, 22 seconds on the clock, touchdown, Missouri wins. It's 6-3 at the half. There is a touchdown with 3:18, a touchdown with 2 minutes, a touchdown with 1:03, and a touchdown with 22 seconds. And Drink after the game is like, well, this keeps us in the playoff. Like, Coach, I guess. But my God, the carnage that took place in the last 2 minutes. And you had OU?
Yes.
I'm sorry, bro. I mean, you're a little lucky to be ahead, but you were really unlucky to lose. That's what happened.
I don't have many words.
Okay. You don't have to.
But I loved Oklahoma. Their one win in the SEC.
Yeah.
Missouri is a team that I put in like Clemson's category. Didn't really have a win. Looked bad in some losses.
Yeah.
But still had a ranking.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma is just bad. And they were favored at Missouri. Good team, good home field. Night game. Yeah. I'm like, this makes no sense. Give me Oklahoma.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh.
You know what I forgot to mention with the Indiana is Cignetti, remember when he got on the mic and he said Purdue sucks, and then he said Michigan sucks. I'm not picking on Rich Eisen because Rich Eisen tweeted after that, we'll see you next year, Coach. About this game.
So got receipts.
Old Takes Exposed tweeted that out, and let me tell you, the responses to Rich's tweet about we'll see you next year from Michigan fans who were understandably quite chesty at the time. They were getting ready to go win a title. There wasn't a single Michigan fan who responded in January or December of 2023 that believed that they would. If you told one person who responded to Rich's tweet, then, hey, you all are going to be 14-point underdogs in this game, they would have said, ha! You speak folly! And then as it turns out, well, you did cover, but yeah. Those receipts, Indiana got to enjoy the receipts, I guess, on the backside. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. We're watching the Holy War.
Oh.
This is tricky because
you got Utah.
Well, but it's tricky because it's late, and this is a big one because BYU's undefeated, and they're currently trailing, but they're on the comeback trail in Muss, and it's in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
I'm going to have to update that in a bit. I'm trying to think of anything else on the card that I don't have. Do you have anybody else today? Any things, any show stuff, BR. Scouting report.
Yeah.
How was the meal situation?
Incredible. I just.
Did you tailgate?
Yeah.
Pastalaya with a shovel?
Same guy.
That's so good.
Same man.
Hold on. Shout to Lil Velvet. Shout to Gretna. Shout to Brandon
Velvet.
Landry. Shout to Raising Cane's.
Yep, Todd Graves, unbelievable guy.
Yeah, he's a fan of the whole thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'll do ads.
A lot of money.
Yeah, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. I'll do ads. Me and Steve, we move product. Have you not seen that? Bald people shave. We eat chicken wings, tenders rather. We love them. Put us in an ad. Put us in your drive-thru, bro. We move product. Have you not seen the products we move? High-end products.
Do you eat oysters?
No.
Oh,
I hate them. It's like snot.
No. Like charbroiled.
I love seafood. Oysters, you can have them.
Oh, you're missing.
You know what?
Try them when you come here.
No, thank you. Give me some shrimp etouffee and call it a day.
Oh, man.
How many did you have? Unlimited. Infinity oysters.
No. I sat down, went to Phil's, Piazza's place. Brandon's great friend, best friend since I think he said middle school. It was right by the hotel. I'm like, a couple guys were out golfing. I'm like, I'm starving. I'm going to lunch. I think I ate a dozen charbroiled oysters in 3 seconds.
It's fine.
Just a little garlic. Unbelievable.
Okay.
Supper Club, this place. I can't even tell you how good it is.
What was the meal? Was the meal sort of
Do you
caged?
know, Brandon, he brought every single thing out on the menu, and it's a steakhouse.
Okay, but is there also like a Louisiana kind of a thing? Like we got, so it's a steakhouse.
But he's got Alaskan king crab legs sautéed, and he's got the Wagyu from Japan. Like it's the meat is like one of 11 places in the world you can get it. Like he has gone to a level that is beyond anything we've ever had.
He's graduate level restaurateur.
Yeah. So I invited a bunch of the producers, and we were all at different hotels. So I'm like, hey, supper club, dinner, Thursday night. Boom. I got 3 different texts from the guys because we didn't go there at the same time. They're like, what are we getting into? Because it looks like a
pricey
establishment that males go to.
Oh.
So that makes it. Yeah. And Brandon did it on purpose. But then when you walk in, I just think of a Vegas steakhouse, the music, the lighting, the style.
But just so we're clear, there aren't naked
it's not
women.
A strip club. It's not a strip club. No, it's a steakhouse. It's an unbelievable place. So it's,
okay.
I mean, every kind of steak you can have. Have you ever had butter cake?
I don't know what that is. You mean dessert? Or is that wine?
Yes. No, dessert. No, not the
cake bread is a wine. But
yes.
Butter cake? Is it like pound cake?
1,000,000 times better. It's one of the best things I've ever tasted. Desmond chased them off the stage today. We got the supper club to cater game day. Desmond chased the people off the stage as they were leaving, asking them to box up the butter cake today. That's how good it was. We have never had reaction on the back end of a commercial break after we eat the food. You have to imagine, like, you would be perfect for it because you eat like a wolf. Like, you got to eat in 3 minutes. And it's
my question is, what would I do with the extra minute and a half?
That's a good point. Good point.
Butter cake done.
Reese is we have the talk back and everybody's open during the commercial break, and it's like, our guy Ruhlman's up there, and he's running around. But Reese, I should have taken a picture of him because it's Reese Davis, the most professional guy in the world, has a fork in his hand, a giant shrimp cocktail, and his mouth is full, and he's just asking, how much time left? Because he wants to take another bite. They have these burnt ends that are the best tasting ribs that you've ever had. Like, burnt ends sometimes get a little rough. These were the softest thing, and then they gave you the pickles right with them. It was, oh my God. And that's an appetizer at Supper Club.
Sure.
Like, Saban and McAfee said this is the best tasting thing they've ever had. And they were able to tell. And then on the back end, we get into Brandon and walk on. Like, it was a good 5-6 minute infomercial for I called it Landry Enterprises.
Good. Good.
So
private jets need fuel. That shit's expensive.
It was that good.
I got you, Brandon.
Superior Grill. Unbelievable. I got to tell you one great thing. It actually backfired, but it still was great in the moment. I went to the LSU women's basketball game because if I didn't, my daughters would murder me. And they're playing, I believe it was Northwestern State. Not a close game. but there was one guy in the Pete Maravich Center that was wearing an Alabama shirt. In the first 3 timeouts of the game, the camera on the Jumbotron, they just put it on him, and everybody just booed the shit out of him for the first 3 timeouts. It was just as good as LSU. And I know everybody's going to make fun of LSU because they got blown out tonight, and I'm still trying to think of how bad they've been beaten in a night game like that. But
I'll tell you the problem. Oh, you can't go rent a Tiger. Omar Bradley. We're like, it's Mike or it's no. Come on,
Omar from Florida. Yeah.
Come on. What are we doing?
It did become, maybe it was a distraction. But again, not many places can do it in America, but it exceeded everything. It's not good. You know that.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. And you know, you guys were. As I said, I don't often have a whole lot of angst in my life. Well, Thursday night, I'm sitting at work. I'm playing fantasy football against Lamar Jackson in one league, against Jamar Chase in another league. And I get a text that shows my former colleagues and partners in crime. I got Rosillo and Stanford Steve side by side in their supper club, eating butter cake and burnt ends and pickles and all sorts of shit. And I'm sitting there waiting to go on, and looking for a show of hands. Not a single human is watching what I'm doing. And there you sit as I'm losing fantasy games on a Thursday night, which makes me just furious. And I see 2 of my closest friends enjoying a great place, thinking, boy, that'd probably be fun to be there, but I'm not.
I tried to be nice, and I only sent you a picture of him, as he always does, eating a salad.
Come on, tell me he had some steak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon sent me the picture as well. You guys were fine. Oh, and Chris Long also.
Chris Long.
He was there.
Mm.
Good.
Yeah.
Brian got Chris in the divorce, I think.
Oh, yeah. Is that like 15 years old?
Well, I don't know. When did our show end? Probably 10,
it's over
like
10
years ago.
Yeah.
Not really, because we were together in but Ryan was there when we were together in Vegas, which led, of course, to the famous blackjack exchange. I'm safe. Those that don't know, if you play blackjack with Chris Long and he has ace 5, he might just stay. Because why would you hit a soft 6? As we said, you might get the 15 card, and then you'd bust. Actually, that'd be the 16 card, because 6 and safe.
Couple things.
Always like these. Go ahead.
Fantasy question.
Nothing matters. I played Jamar Chase. Go ahead.
I played against Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Is it true you traded Joe Burrow?
I did.
Why?
I didn't even bring up that layer. I got another quarterback who's not Joe Burrow, and I got a starting wide receiver, which I needed because I'm decimated at wide receiver. Thought being, quarterback plus the wide receiver is going to equal more.
Okay.
Thus far, early returns would suggest poor job there. He threw for 420 and 4 touchdowns. And the thing I hate most about it is how much I love Joe Burrow. That guy competes his ass off. And they got screwed on a call. Doesn't mean they would have won, but they absolutely should have been snapping the ball from the 1 yard line to go for 2 on a second time because he got hit in the face mask. Gesicki got held. Had they gotten it, Baltimore had timeouts and enough time for Lamar Jackson the way he was playing in the second half to go score. But that's neither here nor there. You asked, did I trade Joe Burrow? I did. If I could go back in time, I would undo that. But I can't. I don't have a fucking time machine.
At least you're not thinking about it a lot. That's okay.
4 days. Well, whatever we are, Thursday, Friday, wherever we're sitting.
You got plenty of guys playing tomorrow, though. You're good.
That's what was suggested to. Not enough to score. In the league, I traded Joe Burrow. I'm playing the last place team. I don't mean any disrespect. I don't know the people in this league. So this guy's team sucks. They're last, 1-8. They have the fewest points in the league by a lot. They scored 75 points last week. They scored 55 with one fucking person. So I'm doing great. And my friends are sending me pictures from the supper club in Baton Rouge. Hey, Scott, how's it going?
How about the other mutants that are in Oxford?
Yeah, they're heckling me too. I got a video from them. Because the network TV Steve Sands is more fun than me. Yeah.
No way. No, I don't believe that.
Steve, everyone's more fun than me.
No.
Look it up. It's a fact.
Not true.
Steve Sands is a good time. I got to say that I got no quarrel with the rating system there. He
doesn't get out much, you know?
Yeah, but he's signed up for 60 this week.
Well, he's going to put in more than 60. Okay.
Question number 2.
You mentioned the Rich Eisen tweet about receipts and all that.
Well, he tweeted it when Cignetti said Michigan sucked. I don't blame him for doing that. He was just like, we'll see you next year.
I want everybody's receipts on Deshaun Foster. That's what I want. Because that guy, how about, did you see the satin coat he had on last night?
Hell yeah.
That thing was badass. And he goes back. Deshaun played against him when he was at UCLA. And he was a true freshman. I think he rushed for like 230 yards for his first game against us. We weren't great defensively. But that man in a uniform, how good UCLA's uniform is, and I'm like, that man was running against high school guys last year.
Yeah.
And then we all know what happened at Big Ten Media Day. But I would love to see some receipts on that because I'm so happy for him to be able to shove it in people's faces that they got to talk all preseason camp. And now he goes to Nebraska and wins.
Yep.
Against a team that might keep Nebraska out of a bowl game.
Well, and then they played Iowa. They played Iowa and beat them last night on the field.
Poor Iowa. That's a bad. I think their last 2 trips to the Rose Bowl haven't been good. Wasn't going to bring up the McCaffrey.
They were down to their 4th string quarterback, who apparently was a scout team linebacker a week ago. I was convinced that we were going to lose it because I say we because I backed UCLA in winners, and I'm like, if I lose to, and I tweeted you the picture of the guy in the Iowa hat. Those folks, man. Folks from the corn, man. You guys get out west and just
corn.
Whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
One other quick one.
Yep.
Watch out for the at-large team to beat Tulane. That is a damn good football team, and that guy Summerall can coach his ass off. And that guy, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a superstar in coaching. John Summerall is phenomenal, and watch out for Tulane because there is a path where they can go. They're like even money to make the playoff. Just look around there.
Okay.
But I just wanted to give those 2 teams a shot because UCLA's got a chance to go to a bowl game, which no one thought was going to happen. And Tulane, you could see that team.
No, they looked they weren't good early.
No offense to Temple.
They're playing very well of late. They bullied Iowa. That's hard to do. And they wore the powder blues and they got a lot of different options.
No decal.
No, they were beautiful. Beautiful.
Did you like Oregon's uniforms?
I thought it was interesting. I was thinking that was like a because there's a little Under Armour thing, Nike Under Armour. I mean, I think Phil's just fine, but I love that they did the old school. I loved it.
Yeah,
I mean, for all the fancy options that they've got, those are like the Musgrave era, aren't they?
Oh yeah,
gorgeous, beautiful. I had SEC who can go to the title game scenarios. I think there's just too many layers of chaos that I don't even think it matters. And not that, no, it does matter. I don't think they're going to screw themselves in terms of being able to get people in. They're going to get multiple people in. It's just they have too many options not to, right? To have, what, 3?
Yeah, I mean, the Georgia loss ties things up. Now Georgia or Ole Miss are going. Alabama's in. Tennessee and Texas are right now, if the season ended, they're playing in the SEC title game, I believe.
Right, that's the thing that I was trying to figure out.
And then you got A&M with one conference loss.
A&M has they got the most direct path, but that got some challenges in front of them, but they've got the most direct path. If they went out, they're in.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing. No, you could say the same. But Texas and Texas A&M have the thing because they play each other.
Correct.
And Tennessee has it because they beat Georgia, and they also have to still play Vandy. Shout out to South Carolina. Good, very good one.
You said they're the best whatever team.
Now they're the best 6 and no, I don't know if they are. I got to check records.
Yeah, well. All right, here's what we're going to do. You can go.
Here's what you're going to do. And then I'll say what I'm going to do.
Well, I gotta nurse this thing and figure. We can't say goodbye because BYU's got under 5 to go. So I signed up for 60 plus.
Are they going to go for 2? Utah has the ball.
They scored and went for 2, didn't get it. It's 21-19. Utah has the ball, and BYU only has 1 timeout. So we're in the 4-minute drill. If Utah can grind this thing to dust, then they're going to get the win. That's where we're at. But no one wants to we'll just you can talk about this with me on. Did we say it's Wednesday now? Is that what it is?
What day is it now?
It's a great point. It's late Saturday. By the way, Seahawks big win.
There we go.
Sam didn't get a lot of touches, but his coach praised his attitude. I said, Sam, that's great. Being a good teammate
Here we go.
is way more important. Don't complain about touches.
How old is he? How old is he?
8.
Sam,
don't be the guy. Every
8.
coach in all these leagues hears the exact same thing from all the kids that come back to the huddle. Mm-hmm. I was wide open. Every coach hears that. Now,
how many targets?
Not a ton, because here's what I'd say. The Seahawks were playing I think it was the Bills or the Giants. Let me tell you, I'm just going to say this. They had a kid named Knox. This dude is a pro. I told him after the game, I don't think I'm going to last long enough in my job to be able to talk about you, but somebody's going to be talking about you because that guy was a monster, absolute monster. But Seahawks got the dub. Seahawks have got they got a bunch of playmakers, got some speed. And the Texans, several years behind, wagon. Absolute wagon.
Anybody complaining about targets on that team?
Charlie wants the ball on every play.
Charlie, it's a team game.
Got to work on Charlie. Got to work on Charlie's body language.
Ooh.
Charlie will give you like the Jesus, like the palms out, like what?
Every play.
When we play catch in the driveway, if I overthrow him, he gives me this look, and I'm like, don't do that to me. And do not do that to your coach. That we can't be doing that. You don't want to be bad attitude guy. Like, we just cannot, we can't have that happen. But does that with me, not with the coaches. But I don't know what grade. I don't know what grade they are, but the Texans are a wagon. Seahawks. What is coach's line? When you win, say, when you lose, say little. When you win, say less. Isn't that? Am I getting that wrong?
No, you got it.
Say less. Go ahead.
What's crazy is Coach Saban and I had a conversation yesterday about quarterback's body language and how much it drives him nuts still Like we were talking about watching quarterbacks on tape, and we were talking about a couple guys like, but the damn body language. So tell Charlie, learn at a young age.
Charlie's all right. Charlie's got some talent. Coaches, he drew the assignment. There was a kid on the other team that had spats and a do-rag, and he was a playmaker. Charlie was checking him a little bit.
While
kids,
we're
shout to the late great Coach Leach about mesh. Like kids just run slant, run crossing patterns. Kids get confused easily. It's true. It's hard to stay with your man a lot.
Who's the best team in college basketball you watched?
I don't know. I haven't seen enough of people to know. I mean,
who'd you watch?
I watched Kansas. Gonzaga the other day beat the absolute brakes off Baylor. Baylor turned around and beat Arkansas. I think Baylor's going to be good eventually, like in time. It's so early. You know how bad teams look. That's what impressed me so much about Gonzaga. Is so often early on teams look like crap, and it's just because they just have like it's game one. Like you're allowed to get better, and teams absolutely will and do. I'm trying to think of who else I saw that I thought was really good.
Is Carolina good?
They don't have any size, but they get. I think you can bully them inside, but their guard play is good, and I was impressed because they were down 20 at one point in Fog Allen, and that's the best in my opinion. And I know we can argue Cameron versus Fog Allen.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fog's the best, just because it's bigger than Cameron. We've covered this anyway. They're down 20, and it could have gotten away from them bad, and it didn't. I mean, they had a shot to tie the game. I was just impressed with it. It was a pretty high level game for it was a high level game for November. You often don't see that.
It's a Big Ten team that's getting some buzz.
Yeah, who's that?
Dirty Terps.
Say nothing.
Come on.
Made some threes. Let's just
come on.
Saw some threes go in the bucket. Hey, they got Marquette coming in next Friday. That's a chance to see.
Are we home? You going?
That's the plan. That's the plan, and that brings us full circle because it's Friday, which means I'd be texting my guy John Brown, telling him I'm gonna head out that way. And now it's like, man, that's heavy. God, that's heavy. That's heavy. But
as long as you've known Maryland, you've known him, right?
Without question. Bentley's was an establishment in my time. And it smelled the same the entire time. Every person who's been to Bentley's right now, stop. You don't even need to close your eyes. You can just picture that horrendous smell of Bentley's. Oh, man. He's an institution and an icon. All right, it's been a long, long day for you. I'm going to babysit this Utah BYU result. You said you're going to tell me what you're going to do. What are you going to do?
I got to pack and get in a car and go to Lafayette to fly to Los Angeles for Monday Night Football.
Oh, that sounds great.
You know what my goal is?
I don't.
On Sunday?
What is it?
To walk in the hotel and see our guy, John Sutcliffe, at the hotel bar.
Monday Night Football!
That's my goal right now for Sunday.
Buddy, this last 48 hours of great oysters and burnt ends and pickles and all that, Lafayette, Atlanta, L.A., the Bills do, all right? That's the bill. So you have fun. You have fun with that. We'll see you in Los Angeles on Monday
night.
All right, travel safe, big fella.
All right, buddy.
He stayed. Steve stayed. Delayed his packing and his drive to Lafayette, to Atlanta, to Los Angeles so that we could see the end of the Holy War. And
good God.
Give BYU all the credit in the world. They're down 21-10 at the half. It's 21-19. They have the ball at their own 5-yard line. And they've got some injuries to their O-line, and Retzlaff is under duress, running for his life, gets sacked on 4th down. Game over. Flag. There's a hold on Utah on 4th down, which we saw the replay. It looked like he was sacked as the guy's being held.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. On the replay, it's easy to see on that all-22 view, Scott, but you're going to throw the
Put it this way. If it's a hold, it's a hold. But there was nowhere for him to throw the ball because he was being boat raced.
Mm-hmm.
They hit a couple passes. Get down to, what was it? How was it? A 40? It was a big-time money kick. BYU buries the kick, 22-21. And then there's just enough time for the single worst thing in the world if you gave Utah winners. Pitchy, woo-woo. Which, by the way, has become just part of the, what is the word? Nomenclature? Is that the thing? When
whoa, big word.
It's just become part of what people say, which I'm proud of. Pitchy, woo-woo. And they're chucking it all over the lot, and it hits the deck, and there's a flag, and the flag's unsportsmanlike, and Whittingham's pissed. And here's the thing I'd say about the folks in Utah. Far better behaved than an SEC crowd, because the folks in LSU began showering the field again tonight. As we've seen, they did it in Texas earlier this year. They did not get the call overturned in Baton Rouge. The folks in Utah just made sad faces and gave some thumbs down. That's in an SEC town. Good luck getting out alive. The officials, after calling a hold on 4th down where they got a sack, I give BYU a ton of credit because they still had to go on that drive and they still had to hit a big money kick, which they did, and they remain unbeaten.
Yeah, that's a big time 44-yard field goal from Will Farron.
Tip of the cap, Will.
In that place, with that hate, that's a big time kick.
And the thing about this game is Holy War is Holy War. It's layers and whatever. But now in the midst of a conference, an unbeaten conference season, they beat you that way in your joint. That's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
That's legendary. Now Kansas goes to them. Do I have that right?
Kansas goes to BYU and Utah goes to Colorado.
And those are the teams that in the Big 12 currently are on a collision course, I believe. If I have that right? I believe that's the case now.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was a hold. I just thought the Utah defense was absolutely flying to the football that series. I thought they were going to get him a first safety the first 3 downs, and they almost did. They almost did on 4th down, and Utah is celebrating, and then I don't know. That's excruciating, and that's how Saturday/Sunday at 2:15 East Coast time. That's a wrap. Salute to BYU. It's a hell of a win.
Oh, unbelievable.
And if you took the candy, that's a win too.
No big deal.
Who'd you have again?
Oklahoma.
No good.
Georgia.
Also no good. Virginia.
Yeah.
On the field. They were in winners as well. Speaking of pissed at the officials, Virginia was ahead, but they got a 4th down stop late, and the officials gave them a do-over.
What?
No shit.
Wow.
They blew a whistle and they said we weren't in position to make a call. Well, then it should have been a procedural penalty because they snapped it before the ball was in play. So either way, there's no way that Virginia should get a do-over, which they got. They then made a field goal, and then they got a pick.
Who would handle that explanation as a head coach better, you or me?
Neither. No. How about that? I mean, I'd be livid. The ACC officials, figure it out, man.
Yeah, there's no more Pac-12, so.
Well, they've taken over the title.
I was going to say, maybe you're the worst now, by default.
Well, they've had a pretty choppy, uneven first couple of 10, 11 weeks here. So, anywho, BYU. Steve stayed for the final. Now he's going to pack. Drive to Lafayette.
One question.
Bonus question.
Who do you rank higher, SMU or Miami?
I don't know. SMU. Who's SMU's lost to? Unbeaten BYU.
Yeah.
At BYU, right? Or was it in Dallas?
SMU.
All right. But was it with this quarterback?
Jennings played a lot. He didn't start. SMU 6-0 with him starting.
As a starter.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I want to see where I'm dying to see where Miami goes in the
Who's
rankings.
SMU's best win? That's the problem. The ACC doesn't give you many chances for good wins.
Correct.
Not great, that league. They're going to get somebody in. Who's it going to be?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steve's going to Lafayette, Atlanta, L.A., and we'll see you, big fella, in Los Angeles for Monday Night Countdown.
You got it, my man.
All right, Stanford Steve. Big shout to Steve for staying up to root that BYU game home. Not root it home, watch it. Anyway, stop talking, Scott. Bye.